Our first presentation today includes both land acknowledgement and a personal reflection. Viewers may remember Helene McGall from last year's conference, where she was awarded a Postscript Excellence Award for her article, My China, recounting some of her life's experiences living and working in China for a number of years. Helene is a former board member of the BCRTA. She's a musician, but especially she's a teacher. After we play her talk, she will be able to join us from her home on the Vancouver Island. So let's play Helene's video now.
This is the address to the BC Retired Teachers Annual General Meeting, September 29th, 2023. H. Helene McGall, and it's about my teaching experience in Kangersuk, Nunavik, August 2021 to June 2023. On this eve of our National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, it is fitting that we begin by acknowledging the First Peoples of our nation. This statement is a heartfelt and meaningful awareness of Indigenous presence and rights. We acknowledge that the British Columbia Retired Teachers Association offices are located on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam peoples, and I am speaking to you from the traditional territory of the Comox people. My name is Harriet Helene Anderson McGall. I am proud to say that I am Métis through my mother, who was born and raised in Hubbard, Saskatchewan. I wish to dedicate this to her at a time when it was not publicly acceptable to be of Indigenous ancestry. My mother did everything in her power to ensure that my brother and I had the best education possible. She provided us with every experience and opportunity at great personal cost. It is because of her vision and persistence that my brother and I have achieved financial independence, careers that were successful, and family and personal happiness. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today on my teaching experiences in the remote Inuit village of Kangersuk, population 800 people in Nunavik, Northern Quebec, Canada. I am 75 years old. I have spent the last 2 years teaching in the North, and upon request in a few days, I will once again return to the North to teach in a different village, Ivuivik, to teach grades 3 and 4. It will be helpful for you to have an understanding of where Nunavik is and how the communities came to be formed. As I share these details, please keep in mind what Stephen Covey said. Seek first to understand, and only then to be understood. Northern Quebec is known as Nunavik, meaning great land. Kangersuk, the bay, is one of 14 rural Inuit communities that are scattered around the perimeter of northern Quebec. These communities were formed in the early 1950s around existing Hudson's Bay posts, where schools were built. The Inuit were forced to give up their nomadic life and to live in community so that their children could attend school. Overnight, the 1,000 years of Inuit life and culture was destroyed with the slaughter of the dogs. One of my parents co-authored a research document on this subject. You need to read it to begin to understand Inuit people and their history. It is available as an attachment. The organizers of this conference will post the link on the conference website if you wish to read it yourself. The title of the document is final report of the Honorable Jean-Jacques Proteau, retired judge of the Superior Court, regarding the allegations concerning the slaughter of the Inuit dogs in Nunavut 1950 to 1970. It took me several days to read this document because I could not stop crying. The anecdotal notes from the Inuits of the day were heartbreaking and so very real. I found myself reliving their pain. The dogs represented their independence, their transportation, their culture, their economy, and suddenly they were gone. As if this catastrophic event wasn't bad enough, the Inuit were also subjected to relocation to Ellesmere Islands for reasons of sovereignty, so the government of the day said. In the 1960s and 70s, hydroelectric power was being developed in the north. The Inuit and the Cree peoples decided they had to do something to protect their people and what remained of their life. So they negotiated a settlement with the Quebec government. It is called the James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement. Under this agreement, the Inuit formed a regional government known as Kativik. Schools were removed from the provincial and federal systems and placed in the hands of the Inuit in the Kativik regional government. The system promotes healthy communities, holistic education, worldviews, empowerment, self-sufficiency, Inuit language, and Inuit culture. Children are immersed in the Inuit language, Inuktitut, and Inuit ways from kindergarten to grade 2, with Inuit-trained teachers. By grade 3, students and parents select English or French as their second language. This is the backdrop to my experience in the North. One lonely Saturday evening during COVID, I was sitting in front of my computer when I came upon an advertisement to teach in Nunavut. I clicked it. A colorful website showed pictures of smiling Inuit children dressed in colorful parkers and nasaks, playing in the ice and snow. The webpage talked about the excitement of the North and the opportunity to partake in Inuit culture and language. Before I knew it, I had sent off my information. An interview quickly followed, and I was hired on the spot. Regretfully, I had let my BC certificate lapse. No worries, said the interviewers. Just apply for the Quebec teaching certificate. The one catch was having previous employers give the number of working hours per year one of their requirements. Eventually, I was able to get a couple of school districts to come up with this number. Traveling and working in unfamiliar places is something that I have experienced. I was a volunteer English teacher in Kenya and Kerala, India. I went to China with the idea of staying 1 year teaching English at the Agricultural and Forestry University of Fujian. I ended up staying for 10 years, and you may have read my postscript article, My China. Then I worked as a private tutor with families in Germany and Spain. What I learned from all of these experiences was that I was a guest in the situation and that I had to fit into the system that was presented to me. That adjustment was not ever easy. I may not have agreed with details of their systems, but in all my experiences, the people of the world want only the best for their children. A solid education where children can read, write, think, and be happy. This is universal. Going to Nunavik was no different. I remember the excitement of my first airplane ride over the land. Looking down, I could see an immense vista of trees, hills, forests, and lots of water. As we progressed further north, now above the tree line, water and granite rock became the landscape. After arriving, one of the first activities was a picnic out on the land. Our school director had a one-room shack in some 10 kilometers away over a rough road from the school where the ATVs and trucks drove us. Parents, children, and teachers set up Coleman stoves, put on the coffee and tea, and brought out the food, including the country food that the Inuits call seal, caribou, Arctic char, feline, and a mixture of crowberries, roe, and Crisco. We spent several hours eating and visiting. Some folks took the opportunity to hunt, some took the opportunity to fish, while others were happy to go berry picking. Over the 2 years that I was there, this activity was repeated. Sometimes we went in the canoes, motorized longboats, or by skidoo in the winter. What struck me was seeing the family units. Parents and grandparents used these opportunities to pass on hunting skills, fishing skills, berry picking skills, and 8 and 9-year-olds, under the direction of their elders, mastered many hunting techniques, including the handling of rifles, skidoos, ATVs, and traditional fishing spears. The land shaped the culture. The children learned by watching, listening, and then doing. The watching and listening takes a long time. There cannot be any mistake. In the harsh and unforgiving land of the North, life depends on that knowledge, and the indigenous way of knowing comes from this pattern of observation. As teachers, we need to observe the culture that we are in, learn from it, and add the strategies to our toolbox. It took me a long time to adjust to how the children learned. I really did not understand about how the children processed information. One little boy seemed to be very attention deficit. It was impossible for him to sit for more than a minute before he had his shirt up over his eyes and his pencil half eaten. Then I started thinking, I am pushing way too hard and way too fast. New strategy. Sit beside him. Hold a pencil. Give him a pencil and have him hold it the same way. Yes. Print a few letters. Let him print a few letters. Give praise. Stop and move to another activity. Total change. Little boy succeeding, feeling happy and successful. Teacher succeeding, feeling happy and successful. The experience of teaching English Dream in Nunavut has taught me a lot. It really is all about watching and listening and understanding, as Covey so eloquently says. It is about finding out where you fit in the thousands-year-old Inuit culture. After reading about the dog slaughter and the relocation program and learning of the horrible colonial practices, I asked a parent what she thought the way forward was, if indeed there was one. She was emphatic in her answer. Moving forward needs to be a joint effort with all stakeholders, focusing on forgiveness, understanding, and truth. There were days when I wondered just how important school and education was to the Inuit. The answer came at the year-end graduation exercises. Thankfully, since the pandemic was over, we were able to have the traditional community dinner followed by the ceremony. There were 4 graduates this year. One student was going on to university in Montreal, and the others are going to take up work in the community. The chairperson of the school education committee was the first to speak in English, French, and Inuktitut. She heartily congratulated the students. Then she went on to remind everyone of the importance of education and the future of Nunavik. She had high praise for the teachers and thanked them for their professionalism, guidance, and care for the students. Next, citizens of the community came forward to praise the students for their accomplishments. I counted at least 10 such speakers. The community very much supported the school and teachers and students. As the 2023-2024 year begins, Quebec finds that there are over 8,000 teaching positions unfilled. In Nunavik alone, there are between 50 to 60 vacancies. If you are looking for an adventure, an opportunity to pay it forward, as I did, or a free trip to Northern Canada to take part in fishing, ATVing, skidooing, cross-country skiing, photography, or learning about the Inuit culture, look up Nunavik teaching opportunities and see if there's a spot for you. They provide you with very comfortable, fully furnished housing, a moving allowance, food allowance, medical and travel from your home to Nunavik, return travel at Christmas, return travel to Montreal at March break, and return to your home at the end of the year. Of course, there are frustrations living in the north. The internet goes down occasionally. Water is an issue. The water trucks do not run when there is a blizzard, or when the trucks break down, or there is no driver. The weather is pretty cold. Last year, our coldest day was minus 69. It was so cold, big blackbird vultures dropped out of the sky, frozen to death. Shopping is not convenient or inexpensive. You can't just run to the co-op and get a specialty item. You need to order in from Montreal, and this takes time and money. There is no cell phone service. You must communicate by messenger or real landline telephones. But the good news is when the flag is flying sideways, when the sewage and water truck do not service the school, there is no school. It is nice to have these surprise holidays. My colleagues and I created dances to bring on these school closures. They always seem to happen just when we needed a break the most. You can stay for a year, as I did, but they can be very persuasive about having you stay longer. Each year that you stay, you have an additional financial bonus. And from an educational perspective, the longer you stay, the more consistent the delivery of education is. And this is of the utmost importance in rural Canada. Is it worth it? Absolutely. You are stretched to the max, and sometimes you wonder what you are doing. When students achieve and can demonstrate their learning, you are rewarded. It didn't happen every day, but it happened often enough to keep me waking up each morning to see if today would be that day. I have so many stories about these aha moments. One of my little girls was always late, and it was a struggle to get her started in the morning. That Tuesday, she arrived and totally settled into the morning assignment with no support from me. She told me that she could do the work herself. Within minutes, she had accurately and neatly completed the assignment. The reward was free time. In our classroom, we had many puzzles, games, and Lego for these free moments. I was so busy helping other students, I really didn't notice what she was doing. When I looked up, she had arranged the little whiteboards and the dry ink erasers and the wipes in a semicircle around the smartboard. As others finished, she directed them to a whiteboard and proceeded to give a phonics lesson, copying me exactly. I soon learned that class lessons really did not work, so I had to individualize all learning opportunities. This meant that I had to work with each child, explain what to do, and then move on. Sometimes we would have a full house of 10, but most often I would have 6 or 7 students. Before long, I noticed that rather than asking me a question, the children would ask each other and help each other. Wow! That was the most exciting thing I observed. From a community perspective, I was totally overwhelmed when a little boy invited me to his birthday party. I phoned his mother to ask if she really wanted me. Yes, she said, and came to pick me up on her skidoo in -40-degree weather. That was the breakthrough moment for me in becoming part of the Inuit community. Just last week, I posted a picture of my boxes going to Ivuivik. A foster parent from Kangaroosuk commented on the picture. She said, "You have the wrong address on the boxes," meaning that I should be going back to Kangaroosuk. Why don't you take up the challenge yourself and see what happens? I wish to thank Tim Anderson and the BCRTA for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of my experiences in the North. If you have any questions, please send them to me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Helene, for your talk and for your wonderful acknowledgement. I found the information so informative, compelling, makes me want to, hey, so constructive. And I particularly like the comment that the land directs the culture. I have to say, Helene, we have a couple of questions if you'd be happy to respond. One is, so at age 75, how do you do all this stuff?
Hi, Dave. I don't know. I feel like I'm 19 years old. I get up every day and I can hardly wait to do things. I stay very active. I go to the gym every day. I walk 10 kilometers every day. I play music and I'm having a ball. So it's how you look at yourself and how you look at life, I think.
Oh, an example to us all. Wonderful. So listen, talking about health, someone asked, what kind of food did you like up north?
Well, the food is a very interesting thing. Of course, the Inuits love their country food. And the country food is the caribou, the seal, the Arctic char, the ptarmigan. And most often they eat it raw. And it's very interesting what happens. The Inuits gather, they put cardboard on the floor, and they bring in the frozen caribou, and they have a little knife called an ulu, and they just shave it off and eat it raw, dip it in soya sauce or wasabi, and it's delicious. They make stews out of caribou ptarmigan, which is all very delicious. And as a visitor or as a teacher in the community, sometimes there would be a knock at the door, and it would be a parent with a Arctic char, or it would be somebody with a slice of caribou. So the Inuits would come in and show me how to fix the meat, and it was always wonderful. On the other side, for my regular cooking, I would do a big pot of vegetable stew on Sunday and freeze it and have it through the week.
Oh, well, You certainly didn't go without up there. Wonderful. And I have to say, I'm curious to see. I think you said you had the berries and with Crisco on them.
Yes, that's a delicacy, and there's a special name. I did ask my friends what the name was, but they didn't tell me. But you mix and the berries are very small, and it looks sort of like a yogurt,
Oh
and
yes.
it's a very tasty and a very sweet treat. It's a very popular because, of course, berries are the only thing that grow really there at all. Nothing else grows.
Well, thanks so much, Helene. And I think, there'll be other questions that are coming in and we'll forward them to you and you'll get a chance to answer them. Well, thank you for a wonderful start of our conference and so informative. Your slides were so interesting. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.